Yeah, I can already see the headline for this Runorder, India, the new South Africa, or India, the RCB of international cricket. Uh,
July 2013 is the last time India tasted success at an ICC event. At that time, it was 3 trophies in a span of 6 years. Things seemed great, but now it's been 9 tournaments across formats. It's a heavy-duty topic. There's lots to introspect, so we've got quite the panel assembled here on ESPNcricinfo Runorder. Let's start with, are there common threads that we have seen over these 9 years? Let's start with you, Nagraj.
In fact, we had carried a copy recently, Do India Choke in Big Matches? It's not like some sort of a rhetoric or something, but there are numbers that are attached to that. Or even the last match that India lost, Rohit said that it's that mental makeup in the key moments that was missing, which resulted in certain players playing those loose shots. To 2019, Ravi Shastri said India lost the semi-finals against New Zealand in Manchester, which was a 2-day match. Just that half an hour interval, that's where India lost that match. So it's just, I don't know, mentally something kind of, the players kind of prepare well, everything, but in those big matches, it's the mental framework that kind of just, they're unable to cope with, possibly.
It's a variety of losses. There have been times when India have been absolutely dominated by teams that were better than them on paper. Think England in the 2022 T20 World Cup, think Australia in the 2015 ODI World Cup, or even Australia in the latest World Test Championship final. But there have been other times where India have also been thrown off the park against a team which on paper wasn't as competitive as India. Think Pakistan Champions Trophy 2017. So Sambit, what is the reason?
I think it's a combination of factors. It's a combination of the better team winning, like in 2015, Australia were the better team. India were, in that tournament, India won every match till the same innings. India bowled out every opposition till then. They scored, every time they batted first, they scored 300 runs. And yet they came up against Australia. It was again a combination of both. Indian fast bowlers went for, I think, over 7 in that semi-final, when they had bowled out everybody before that. And that nobody in the top 5, I think, scored a 50. So it was a combination of both. So I think it's been, and you have to accept that Indian top players haven't turned up. Stretching back to 1996, when Sri Lanka were down in the dumps, 2 wickets down, Arvinder came and played that perhaps the best innings of that tournament. You remember Ricky Ponting's knock in the final. You remember Adam Gilchrist in a final. So that's something that you really, there is a trend there. You can't deny that.
So I have a slightly contrary opinion in that if you look at recent World Cups, in fact, it's not been necessarily the top players that have, for example, for England in 2019, the top order failed in the final. But they had players, they had depth. They had Ben Stokes and Josh Butler recovering that final for them. Even the recent final against Pakistan, the top order didn't do well. And that's what India hasn't had. And I think that you also have to look at India's planning. I mean, the fact is that of these 9 ICC tournaments, 5 have been T20 tournaments. India have never had the right T20 strategy. The fact is that they have been a step behind other teams in terms of their T20 strategy. That's why they lost to West Indies in 2016. Again, this year in 2022, we heard all this stuff about how India was going to change their approach, which they didn't come the tournament. So that's been a major issue. And even if you look at selections, there's so many questions about selections right up till the eve of these tournaments. 2019, I remember the middle order. No one knew who was going to bat at number 4. During the tournament, Rohit Sharma actually cracked a joke saying that all of you guys wanted Rishabh Pant at number 4. Well, here he is. It was like we were selecting a number 4 by public opinion. So where is the planning from the Indian team management when it comes to actually knowing even what their best 11 is for these tournaments?
Shashank, 2019, that Rishabh Pant conversation came so much later because the narrative before that, of course, was 3 years of India trying pretty much, I think, 9 or 10 batters in that role. A year before the World Cup, you had an Ambati Rayudu who seemed to have the backing of the management, of the captain, and then he went out, and then Vijay Shankar came in, and then Rishabh Pant came in. So there are selection issues that have been a common cause of concern for India.
Yeah, and I think it's been a very common thread since 2019. I mean, everyone knows that famous Ambati Rayudu and Vijay Shankar selection. And then it happened last year as well, where they picked Dinesh Karthik on the back of his glorious IPL form. But when it came to a crucial game, They didn't trust him enough to, when a top order failed, they didn't trust him enough to bat with 8 overs remaining. So he was held back. He missed 3 or 4 games. So there was a little bit of uncertainty over the roles. This common thread of not identifying roles or role clarity has kind of been a bit of a problem for India since probably 2019. So I think that's something that they'll have to quickly identify.
There was a review carried out in January 1st or December 31st last year, where it was, headlines were made that we are now going to look at managing workloads of players who are going to be playing these big tournaments, and they will be given some sort of break during the IPL. None of them. Did anyone take a break during IPL? The player also has some sort of responsibility, I feel. The player needs to think, if I am playing, can I take a break? Do I want a break? And and he initiates that conversation. He tells the coach,
No.
I want to,
I mean, we have seen so many times, so many Australian players withdraw. Pat Cummins didn't come here. Stark hasn't come here for a long time. They're prioritizing where they want to excel. So I don't think there has been a case of one single Indian player saying that, hey, I will not play the IPL.
I remember something MS Dhoni said during the 2015 World Cup, which was about the importance of having players in your setup who have 40 to 50 games, international games under their belt when they enter a world tournament. And we haven't necessarily seen that happen in recent years. So George, do you think there is a case to maybe just give people more time and then back them after they have that body of work going into a big tournament?
See, I just think if you look at it, experience is not so much the issue. You can always find reasons for India's non-performance in these crunch games or tournaments. Like, for example, in the 2021 World T20, happened to lose 2 tosses against Pakistan and New Zealand. That World T20 was won by Australia that won every single toss and chased. I think they dropped 1 game when they didn't win the toss, Australia.
Yeah.
So all these, there are reasons that crop up in every tournament. But at some point, people will say, okay, you're finding excuses for their non-performance. But there are actual cricketing reasons for each defeat if you look into it.
You're talking about players not taking a break from IPL, but the fact is, even in T20 cricket, we're not winning the World Cup. So it would be one thing.
That's I think that is the biggest worry, that India, despite IPL, the 2020 tournament they won was before the IPL. So you've had 15 years of IPL. So that's the biggest question to ask: why aren't India the best T20 team in the world?
Because there's no one to ask. There's no one to ask. That's what I feel. There's no one to confront the coach and the captain. The accountability is missing. So I think the
coach and captain are the only ones cog in the wheel.
And they're the ones who are publicly kind of confronted with and asked this, challenged. Yeah. But I think it's the pathway is never been there, that there has to be somebody that the coach, captain, and the BCCI can find central core. I mean, they should be worried. 2024 T20 World Cup comes a month or so after the IPL. They don't know who their captain is. If the selectors did not play the 2 senior players, Kohli and Rohit, who still think that they are part of this. So where is the conversation? Who's having a conversation whether they're going to be part of it or not? Because there are so many young batters who are knocking on the doors and they need to get their chances.
There is no, as Nagraj said, no captain in place. So for the T20 World Cup, or at least it's not sure who is going to be the best man for the job. So give him a run of 1 full year in the lead up to the World Cup and say, this is your team and take it forward. Whether that's Hardik Pandya, whether it's Rohit Sharma. I mean, they deserve that clarity, and teams can't be picked on a series by series basis. And you will have tours like the West Indies or Afghanistan where you will have an opportunity to experiment. Those are the tours where you need to kind of pick your backup players. You need to give them that exposure and opportunity and not throw them into the deep end probably 1 or 2 months before a big tournament.
Final call to you, Samvit. All points covered.
And be prepared to lose a few. Be prepared for pain if you want, success at the end of it. So if you're talking about a process, you have to be committed to that process and not have, fans will obviously rail and rant if you lose. But you have to kind of bite that bullet and believe in that.
An ODI World Cup on home soil this year, T20 World Cup in West Indies and USA next year, barrage of ICC events every year pretty much. Will India end the title drought anytime soon? Tell us what you think in the comment section. And thank you so much to all of you fine gentlemen for your company on ESPN cricinfo Runorder.